This week on HMP, two titans of acting wrestle for the silver screen, but it's all about the Silver Surfer. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, he giggles a little bit every time he hears the phrase down bubbles. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
You're not wrong. I am a sucker for submarine jargon. I love it.
It's a load of bull crap, but you can't just help but
I can't help it. I just love submarine jargon. I could be watching the dumbest movie. You know, let's say there's a movie out there that doesn't actually exist. We'll call it U571.
What?
And
that's a random numbers and letters scheme and everything.
Random, it's just off the top of my head.
That's good that you're not incriminating other people by just putting those little random things together. I appreciate that. You're a professional.
I'm above the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, even in a movie like that, I still love hearing the let's give it half a ping.
Yeah.
Like I love hearing stuff like that. I'm like, ooh, that's the stuff, boy. And this movie is lousy with submarine terms.
There is just something about dudes and submarine movies. There just is. Think about it. Like all throughout the years, they mention it in this movie and we'll talk about it and stuff, but like dudes just love a sub movie. I don't know what it is. Everybody's dad loves sub movies. I promise you. Go talk to your dad. If he's still around, go talk to him. He loves a sub movie. I promise you.
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
My goodness, it's insane. And you can't do. I don't know that you can do better in a sub movie by getting together Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington, and have it all directed by Tony Scott. Get out of here, dog. And that's what we're doing today, everybody. April is going on, and we are looking at the movies of the recently departed Gene Hackman. As we continue our series, Gene Hackman Appreciation Month, Crimson Tide, 1995, directed also by the late, great Tony Scott. Before we do all that, though, we want everybody to just do us a big old giant favor and take your time, head on over to our YouTube page, man. Subscribe to that if you haven't already, because you can listen to this show on YouTube. And also look at all the other videos and stuff that we do. I did a big video this week talking about Megan and how Blumhouse is re-releasing Megan and a couple other movies in theaters this spring, leading into summer and everything. And they want you to bring your cell phone in and use it during the film. Doesn't that sound like a great idea?
That is so specifically aimed towards children.
Yeah. But I talk about that and whether or not that's going to be the future of movies and all that kind of good stuff. I got a fun little rant on that in a movie, in a review coming up, another filling in the blanks later this week. So head on over to our YouTube page. I really appreciate that. My favorite comment on the YouTube channel this week, speaking of which, comes to us from 4 Million Pizzas.
Nice. Good handle.
It's a good
one. Good handle.
And 4 Million Pizza says, your channel is so, that's four so's, criminally underrated. You know what, 4 Million Pizzas? I agree. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I do better content out there than people that don't. I'll put it to you this way. I put more effort into content than people with 5 times my subscriber base.
Without a doubt, you do.
So, just... Please just help the numbers go up a little bit for the love of God. Those YouTube links are in the show notes here and everything. I really appreciate that. I do spend some time on there. It's not just me yapping into a camera. I edit stuff, I write stuff. I really do.
The majority of what I watch these days is YouTube. But I really wish that they had like a button for like, I'm an adult person who wants to watch adult person things on YouTube. Like I don't need to see some idiot eating a Tide Pod or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like that level of idiocracy. I don't need to see that. Like show me somebody who's putting in effort. Show me somebody who is giving me their slant on the way that the world is. Like don't give me influencer moms with their kids. Like I don't care. Like I don't want any of that. I never do. And I will say that it has got my content has gotten to a point where that stuff doesn't show up anymore.
Yeah.
But every so often something shows up in my feed where I'm like, no.
They got to dangle it back in front of you every now and then. Just go like, hey, you remember this crap? You sure you don't still like this junk? Huh? No? All right, we'll see you in 6 months.
Right.
They just always got to come back around and see if the salesman is can pitch his wares one more time at you.
And everybody, I know that there's such thing as Nebula because YouTube people pitch that to me every day.
What's that now?
Nebula.
Ain't she a Guardian of the Galaxy? She
sure is. She's one of my favorites. But I don't want to buy yet another streaming service. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's come on now. And listen, YouTube's the biggest boy out there, so it is what it is, everybody. But head on over there, and if you really, really love the show, head on over to patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And with our Dinger Zone, we have been doing our Daredevil 30 questions for Daredevil Reborn. And it's been something.
It sure has.
It's been good. It's been bad. It's been all that's
it's
why I
both
think it's
things from scene to scene. That is like I told you last week, man.
Yeah.
In the pre-show last week, Daredevil is literally the perfect show to discuss because there's so much to talk about, whether it's something that they've done magnificently or it's the dumbest thing you've ever seen on television. And that's just from scene to scene. It's so uneven. When it's good, it's great. When it's dumb, it is the dumbest thing you've ever seen. And it's what makes the show great because I have no idea what they're going to do from week to week.
No,
I literally don't. I don't know where plots are going. Because who's got the reins? Is it the dumb guy or is it the smart guy? I don't know. We'll find out.
It's so wild. It's so much fun because like I said, from scene to scene, you have no idea what's going to happen. And this episode, the most recent one this week, I was like, oh my God, I think they finally figured it out. Here we go. We're rocking and rolling. Maybe the last two episodes, and then they slap you in the face with a wet fish real fast. You're like, damn it.
It's what makes it so good though to watch and to discuss.
It gets your hopes up, and then there's a cherry scene and you're like, oh God, why?
I look, I know that I toot our own horn quite a bit when it comes to the work that we do. I wish that there was another show that discussed Daredevil the same way that we are, because we're not on the payroll. You can tell when you listen to our show.
We hate when appropriate.
Right. And we don't there's not that moment on a lot of podcasts that I hate where it's like we're having fake fun right now. Like you say something not funny, I don't laugh.
No.
And when I say something not funny, you don't laugh.
We will let it sit.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, we will let a dumb joke sit and go, you think about what you just said.
That's the part about podcasts that drives me the craziest these days when it comes to that kind of content is the person who has some lame ass, let's call a spade here, Bruce joke. And then the other person is like, oh, I gotta watch out for you. Get out of here. Get out of here with your fake garbage.
You're putting on a Lindsay Nagel over here. What are you doing, man? Cut it out.
Killing me.
If you like insightful thought like this, patreon.com/HMP. Join up at any level, whatever it means to you, man. If you love this show, we love you right back, man. Just put that in a dollar form, send it out our way. And the cool part is, I don't promote this enough, but I definitely should. Again, at any level right now, if you join up at Patreon, even if it's for $1 for the whole damn month, $1, your name ends up going on the end page of the Patreon or of the YouTube page. So anytime that I make a video, at the end, there's essentially credits where your name is in there. Your name lives forever in YouTube eternity for less than $1 for like $1 a month. What the hell's wrong with you?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
you can look at your friends. And it stays on there for a long time because there's not a shitload of people. So it's not like all these other Patreon channels or YouTube shows where they're going through 88 pages of stuff. It's up there for a long time. And you can say, look at me, mama. I done did it. I'm a supporter of the arts.
And the other part, too, is that there is a lot of content that you're getting these days. If you're a Patreon member with the Daredevil show, we're going to do Andor on Patreon. Mm-hmm. And there's one other thing, right, where I was like, we were talking about it this week. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
And not to mention the other day when I ended up doing the All-American Spookshow, we kind of basically had a 45-minute podcast that we just recorded more or less. That was us just kind of shooting the shit and whatnot. So I tacked that onto the end of, one episode. So you essentially got another 45-minute episode just out of the blue. And, it's just guys just doing what we do around here. And if you like what we do, I'm sure you like sitting in on that little conversation. So patreon.com/HMP. We love you. Thank you so much. Well, we are on to Crimson Tide from 1994. Here's the IMDb plotline for Crimson Tide. As we all know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. On a nuclear missile sub, a young first officer stages a mutiny to prevent his trigger-happy captain from launching his missiles before confirming his orders to do so. Holy shit, IMDb. That is good.
I don't agree with the trigger happy captain.
It's close enough. Like, I'm just saying, for as far as an IMDb goes, and for selling this particular movie, that ain't a terrible way to do it.
You're not wrong.
Not a bad way. The story by Richard P. Henrick, who pretty much just did this from what I've seen. Maybe, I think he's like a writer, you know. Michael Schaefer wrote the story and screenplay. Michael Schaefer wrote Colors, Lean on Me, The Peacemaker, and get this, Call of Duty Volume 1 and 2 from the Xbox 360
if you watched a movie,
days.
If you watched any movies in the 90s, you've seen his work.
Yeah, homie's out there. Uncredited script punch-ups and everything by Quentin Tarantino, Robert Towne, and Steve Zalazan. And I say, if you're going to punch up, get the best guys. Get the best of the best. Them's the boys you get. Directed by Tony Scott. Unbelievable. Starring, get this, hold on to your hats, kids. This movie is unreal. Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington, Viggo Mortensen, James Gandolfini, Matt Craven, George Denunza, Steve Zahn, Ricky Schroeder, Rocky Carroll, Ryan Phillippe looking 12 years old, and the movie is just dudes underwater. You gotta love it.
And it is certainly a Simpson Bruckheimer movie, because there's so many faces in this movie that if you don't know their names, you certainly recognize these guys because they've been in movies for the last 30 years.
It's like oh, this guy was in The Rock. This guy was in,
right.
Like all of these guys went around. They were Simpson Bruckheimer staples.
So I'm sure you've heard, like, if you've looked at any of the back matter to this movie, you've probably seen somewhere that Denzel and Tarantino had some beef. Mm-hmm. About the horses line that's so clearly a Tarantino line.
Yeah.
And Denzel said that he had a problem with it and blah, blah, blah. And when you hear Denzel these days, he's like, that was way overblown. Like we talked about it really early on. I mean, my daughter is in his movie, for God's sakes. Like we are totally fine. And I have a crackpot theory on this.
Okay.
I think what happens is, I think at the time of Crimson Tide, I think that Denzel, whom I love, he is one of my favorite actors. Mm-hmm. I think that he tried to big boy Tarantino there. And I think he was like, I have a problem with this line. I'm Denzel Washington. And Tarantino was like, I'm Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. That line is absolutely staying in.
Well, I think you're right. I think you're right on the first half and everything. And he is also Oscar winner Denzel Washington at this point as well.
Yep.
So that definitely has some sway in there for sure. Yeah, I can definitely see him sort of kind of having that pushback and everything. I do like that Tony Scott was like, hey, I really like True Romance. You and I, like, while we didn't work on that together or anything, they had a good enough relationship, and Tarantino absolutely loves Tony Scott.
Yes.
So if one of your favorite directors says, "Hey man, you want to punch up a script of mine? I already did a hell of a job with your movie. Would you like to come and just punch up this one?" Who's not saying no to this? Which made me really kind of sit back and think about this after watching it this week. It is amazing how Quentin Tarantino did not bottom out. Not really,
Well, the story behind why he didn't, right?
Tell me.
So during the phase of Tarantino where he's doing 4 Rooms with his buddies, and he's doing the movie where it's him and Rodriguez and Grindhouse, the Grindhouse movie. So in that phase, he is friends with the director of There Will Be Blood. I can't remember his name.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Thank you, Paul Thomas Anderson. They're good friends. As a matter of fact, there is a very funny quote from Fiona Apple, who was
yeah.
dating Paul Thomas Anderson at the time, where she's like, it is the worst night of your life to spend a night with your boyfriend and Quentin Tarantino doing a mountain of cocaine and watching movies.
You know.
Which, yep, that all adds up.
I could see no one goes, that certainly didn't happen.
Yeah, there's nobody who's like, what?
You lie.
Quentin Tarantino was a cokehead. What?
No.
And so they are friends. And then Paul Thomas Anderson releases There Will Be Blood. Tarantino looks at that movie and immediately is like, and he's admitted this. He has said this before. He's like, I have got to get better at my game, because Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm supposed to be the voice of my generation, and Paul Thomas Anderson just made a movie better than anything I've made.
Yeah. And
since they are friends, but they are also adversarial friends, Tarantino goes back and is like, okay, now I've got to do better. Now I'm gonna really start punching away here. And I think that's really what made him see the light. Is like, oh, and he's realistic enough to see that, oh, this Grindhouse movie, this Four Rooms movie, this is for me. Like, this isn't for anybody else. Like, I'm literally just making these movies for myself at this point. I need to start making movies that people want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely, I could definitely see that. For me,
he literally said that.
No, I almost mean even really before even all of that. I'm talking about like in this time, because Quentin Tarantino, I think, is like less than 30 years old at this point, and just everything that he's done, everyone that he's met, like the amount of praise that was heaped upon him and everything, how he's continued to go back and just at least given us a pretty damn fine film every single time is pretty crazy. Because if Tony Scott's calling me up and be like, hey buddy, punch up this script for me, I can't imagine what that does to somebody who's in that kind of position. It's insane.
It's funny because I always think of his brother as the far better director.
A lot of people do, and growing up, I would say I was probably in that same camp. But as the years go on, I appreciate Tony so much more.
I do too, just because watching the movie this week, and something happened with this movie and me that I didn't give it permission to do. Which this movie, from the last time I saw it till now, has become an old man movie. This is a movie for old people. This is a movie for old men.
TBS presents Crimson Tide.
Really. And by that, I mean, I would go over to my grandparents' house and my grandparents would constantly watch John Wayne movies. And as a kid, there was nothing lamer, nothing worse than John Wayne. Mm-hmm. John Wayne, I hated him as a kid. I hated his movies because he was like the oldest man in the world and he's trying to be a tough guy. And it's like,
he's never a great actor either. I mean, a lot of people don't like hearing it. Yeah.
And he's a bad actor. And there's all of those things, since now I'm an adult, there's two movies of his that I really like.
There's a handful of good Wayne flicks in there, but there's a lot of them that are corny. You're not wrong.
Right. And so as I'm watching this movie today, I was like, my daughters could never sit through this movie. And I don't even mean the whole movie. I mean, they couldn't sit through 5 minutes of this movie. There's no way.
But yet, at the same time, even with this rewatch, weren't you just compelled the whole damn time?
I was, but that's because I'm an old man.
Exactly. No, I'm not. I was just saying sometimes it's okay to be an old man because, boy, you can get a movie like this and be like, God, this is pretty damn good, ain't it?
And I do find myself saying things that old people said when I was young. Like, man, I wish they made movies like this again. Right? Because it actually looks like a movie when you're watching it. Yeah, the lighting is perfect. You can see all the action as it's happening. You understand where everyone is in every scene.
So let's talk about that for half a second, because we are in this great Simpson Bruckheimer era. And
which, hold on, let me stop you there. Uh-huh. I hate that I was nostalgic for that logo because I hate Simpson Bruckheimer movies. I hate them. I know you love them.
Oh yeah,
I know that you do. There's a couple that I like, but I hate Simpson Bruckheimer movies. However, when that logo, Simpson Bruckheimer, flashed, I was like, ooh, man, that's nostalgic right there.
Yeah. You also got to remember, it's like, all right, Beverly Hills Cop.
No, I know. Like I said, there's a few movies they've made that I really do enjoy.
But yeah, it is like they got all the kind of key players in here and everything. This fantastic. They go, hey Hans, rock us another amazing, 90s Simpson Bruckheimer score, and he goes, "You got it, boss." And
I don't know how.
One.
I don't know how realistic this is, but one of the notes that I read was that Bruckheimer and I'm sorry, the musician's name again. The guy who did the score.
Hans Zimmer. Yeah.
Hans Zimmer and Bruckheimer fought for a week in the editing bay because Hans Zimmer was like, this will be perfect if I do this in this scene. Mm. And Bruckheimer was like, absolutely not. You are totally incorrect. I don't want to see that there. And they just went back and forth for an entire week until finally Hans Zimmer got his way. And I believe won an Oscar for a score in this movie.
It's so good and would really kind of, I really got to go back and do kind of a deep dive through Hans's kind of discography, if you will, of films and stuff over the years, because like he's diverse, but yet has also a very specific voice in a lot of stuff, and this specific kind of 90s era Hans Zimmer is just like, it's so percussive and just kind of pumping and perpetual and keeps pushing you along, and you have that kind of that super Navy feel. Like that's what like this movie invokes the Navy just by its a dun 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 dun, that kind of, it's so damn good.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agree. Also at the beginning of the movie, love the 80s like good Cold War gobbledygook that doesn't really mean anything, but Russians are bad, but not all Russians, just the bad Russians are bad. And they have the nuclear codes. Like bad guys have the nuclear codes.
They kind of deal with the news a lot like we deal with sub-jargon, which is just kind of like, hey, listen, all this stuff is setting up. Does it really all matter? No. But we've given you enough color, so to speak, that you get the vibe of what's going on, even if you're not sure, because we're not even really all that sure of what the true machinations of all this stuff is. These are the bad guys. We're kind of setting it up. We're cribbing some things, but by the end of all of this rigmarole, which is done pretty well, you get it. You know what's going on.
And it's less than 5 minutes, man. I mean, exactly. you know the state of the world in 5 minutes. Like, that's pretty great.
You didn't have to read it on a crawl. So, you know, be happy about that.
They didn't have to hire James Earl Jones to do the voiceover for your crawl.
In the beginning, there was the submarines. They go underground. That's the best James Earl Jones I've ever done. It's amazing.
That's pretty good.
God almighty. Wow. Let me ask you this before we get started, because I'm curious. Have you ever been on a submarine?
I have, but not a working one. Like
I haven't either. Not on a working one.
I've been on. I've gone to plenty of naval bases, and I've also, like, just as a kid, you tour submarines and stuff. And I've been on multiple.
I've been on one. I thought it was very cool. It was one of those things I didn't get to kind of explore as much as I'd really want to, and kind of take time with things, because I went with the girls because I wanted to kind of be around the girls.
Sure.
But the boys trip, they got on to look at all the planes and do all the really cool stuff. I was just like, I want to be with the girls, but the tour suffered for me at that point, because I was like, I want to see all this cool stuff.
Right.
I did okay that trip, I'll be honest with you. So don't
you worry about old Poultry.
Don't you worry about old 7th grade Adam. He was doing for 7th grade Adam. He was doing fantastic.
Good job.
For anyone else, it was pretty just like, you thought that was something good.
Good job, 7th grade Adam. Also, one of the things that I think all Simpson Bruckheimer movies get wrong is it's the worst part of every one of their movies is the family stuff, like at the beginning of the movie, because every main character's he's always the best parent and the best husband ever, and he's always patient and thoughtful, and there's always like some cute moment that they have before they go off. Like in this movie, for instance, it's the Denzel saying, "Hey, I think your sister might be kind of nervous and you're going to have to do something about it because she thinks I'm going to be gone for," like that cute moment there. Like every single one of those, every single Simpsons Bruckheimer movie has something that just rings completely false when it comes to those moments. And that is exactly what happens in this movie too,
And
where
see,
you're just like, horse shit.
But I'm the ding dong American that they made that for, and I just go, yeah, he's a good guy. I fall for it hook, line, and sinker every time. I'm a dum dum that way. I freely and openly admit.
It's so bad, man. Like it's just so stupid.
But it's cinema dum dum shorthand.
Yeah,
but it works well enough. It's just like, because we don't see, Gene Hackman outside of his dog is not showing anyone any affection.
Right, and that's the only reason why that dog is there, right? Is to show that he is a human being and he does love this little dog.
He's not a complete shithead. He's just a jerk.
Right. Also, I did the math. Denzel Washington's daughter, the actress who plays Denzel Washington's daughter in this movie, she would be 35 years old now.
Wow. Gee whiz.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Because they say I'm looking the magician at the kid's birthday party, by the way, who's got them all enraptured. That's how you know you're watching a movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. The magician is really killing it.
Yeah, the 30 kids there are just amazed by this magician. Right. But
vanilla.
Oh my God, just ridiculous. But he even says you had to have been born in 1990 in May, and blah blah blah, and it's because of Denzel Washington's daughter did the math, and she would be 35 years old right now, which she's about to turn 35 years old, which I just find that amazing because she's just the littlest kid in the world in this movie.
And Denzel Washington only looks like he's aged maybe 20 years.
Maybe.
It's nuts. It's not even, it's like, it really is bizarre to just be like,
it's unfair, man.
You have looked the same forever.
His daughter is in Django Unchained and not a small role.
Yeah.
And she is an adult woman in Django Unchained. That movie is also 15 years old now?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, it's about. Oh man, things flying.
That's what I mean. And he still looks as great as he does. His son is one of the biggest movie stars in the world now. And his son ain't young neither. Like his son is like 35.
I was about to say he's like 35, so yeah. And Denzel's still just looking over here. It's like Mike, you'd go like, I don't know, 56. He looks fantastic.
Gene Hackman.
Yes.
Right. So Gene Hackman in this movie, right away, it feels to me like this is probably what Gene Hackman is like on every movie set, what his character is like in this movie.
Yes.
When you hear all the stories, about how prickly he can be.
Yeah.
It sure feels like Gene Hackman doesn't really have to stretch a whole lot to play this captain character here.
Oh, you mean I'm just grumpy and upset with everyone? I think I could pull that off. I'll see what I can do. Like if he just kind of lies about it, just be like, listen, I'm going to have to pull from deep within, but I'll see if I can yell at these people for a while.
Off the top of your head, do you know what Gene Hackman's character's name is in this movie?
No. It starts to start with an H.
No.
Shit.
The reason why I'm asking is because you can't watch this movie
without seeing Gene Hackman.
You can't watch this movie and think, Gene Hackman's character is obviously it's Captain Frank Ramsey, obviously, and then Denzel Washington's character is Denzel Washington.
That was the H I was thinking about. His name's Hunter, so I knew there was an H involved someplace. I was just like, is there an H somewhere? No, that's Hunter, and that's with Denzel Washington, and it's Ramsey. Yeah, because we're watching Denzel and Gene Hackman. Goddammit.
Of course, I methat's what this movie really is Denzel versus Gene, and my God, what a great movie it is for that.
Let me ask you this, because we mentioned it. Gene Hackman, sometimes a prickly little cat, And Denzel Washington himself, not always he's a little, I don't want to say method, but he gets into some stuff. Like he gets into a headspace, I
think a lot of that has to do, I think that his demeanor on sets has a lot to do with how are people treating him on set. It's just a feeling I get. Like if I would imagine that he probably came out throwing blows on a bunch of different movie sets, just because people were awful in the 80s on a movie set. And I think that he still had that mentality for a while. And so when he starts going through the 90s and he starts winning Oscars and people start thinking of as capital D, capital W, Denzel Washington, things change. And then every so often something comes up where you hear some story about Denzel where you're like, ooh, man, that doesn't sound great. But I think it's mostly dependent on how the other people are treating him around set. And so that's why I said the thing I did at the beginning of the movie about Tarantino is that he was kind of feeling himself in that moment and was like, I don't want to say this. I'm Denzel Washington. And Tarantino's like, I'm Quentin Tarantino. You are going to say this line.
Yeah. I think also just based upon like Ed Zwick's book talking about glory and kind of Denzel's, not only performance in that, but his kind of working relationship with him and everything. It seems like Denzel will kind of get into a character and kind of have a specific sort of mindset and kind of stick with that and stuff. After kind of things have calmed down, so to speak, he's all, everybody's cool and stuff. But in the moment, he can be fairly abrasive and,
Sure.
A little bit, rude and stuff to people at times as to what I'm to understand from Zwick's book and stuff like that. But it's like, it's one of those, everything washes out in the end and he's a very nice person. But like during these times, watch your P's and Q's.
Sure. I get it.
And I could see that for sure.
Yeah, totally get it. Also, there is nothing dumber and more frustrating than a movie set. I mean, it's the maddest you'll ever be in your life is on a movie set.
And on a movie set, in this particular case, that is a submarine, which in and of itself is a cramped environment. So you've got all this stuff. You're never going outside. Every day is called, get back on this set, get cramped in with all these other dudes and have these hot lights splash on you all day long. That's, nobody's going to be in a great, I'm sure half of that sweat was real.
Well, I mean, half of that submariners are movie sets, but yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But like they're all sets and stuff, but everything is
tight quarters.
You're in there, and you're not. Those can't be the funnest of days. You're just going like, oh, another day on the subset, huh? Sweet.
You want to hear something really cool about this movie?
Mm-hmm.
So, originally the U.S. Navy was like on board for making this movie, and then they read the script
after Tony Scott with Top Gun and everything like that. He's got a pretty good relationship with those guys. One might
and
suspect.
Bruckheimer Simpson, I'm sure.
Oh
too.
yeah,
same way. They're all Top Gun guys. Then they read the script, and the U.S. Navy was like, "Absolutely not. We're going to have nothing to do with this movie.
Mutiny, no.
This movie is not for us, right?" But even with that being said, this movie now is sort of like in an unofficial capacity. It's used as a learning tool in the Navy of how not to lead your people, because the way that Gene Hackman's character behaves, that like this is not how you lead men, because your men will fight against this eventually. And so don't do this thing, which I just thought was very cool, that the U.S. Navy wanted nothing to do with this movie, and now they use it unofficially to teach their guys how to be better guys. I think that's awesome.
And it's really a great point kind of in history here and everything, with kind of the changing of the guard, not only within, this military thing of like this older guy who's kind of used to doing things his way. Stuff is changing. Technology is changing. He's still with it, but he's still got a lot of the old kind of mentality there with him and everything. And we've got this new young guy in there who's like, who's ready and willing to kind of prove himself and everything, and wants to do, right by everybody and all this kind of good stuff. So an idealistic guy coming in and fighting somebody that's the old kind of crank and all that kind of good stuff. But at the same time, too, again, we're looking at kind of the older Hollywood and the newer Hollywood at the same time. Gene Hackman's coming out of that 70s New Hollywood era and everything. And then, Denzel Washington comes along in late 80s, early 90s. And, like, this is your big, giant leading man now. He's getting a lot of those, I don't want to say Gene Hackman roles, but, like, equivalent kind of leading man roles. Denzel Washington is getting those at this point and stuff. So this is kind of having those two, like, awesome, powerhouses meet here and everything. This old, veteran actor and this up-and-comer guy who's already got an Oscar under his belt at this rate and would continue to do so for the next 40 years, just kicking
Right.
them one after another. So good.
Yeah. You just came up with a point that I'd never thought of before, which is that if Gene Hackman's in a role, Denzel Washington, 85% of the time, could totally do that role. Like 85% of the time.
Yeah.
There's certain roles that I don't think he could do. Like I don't think he could be Royal Tenenbaum. I think Gene Hackman is maybe one of the only people who could be Royal Tenenbaum.
Man, him just calling Danny Glover Coltrane is one of the funniest. And then how he like tries to play off like he didn't.
Oh, it's so good.
What did you call me?
So good.
Hackman's amazing. Like this is kind of like when you close your eyes and picture Gene Hackman, this is what you picture in your head.
Oh, you do?
This age Gene Hackman, I think.
Yeah.
These days I close my eyes. This is the age I see Gene Hackman.
Oh, that's interesting.
You still going Superman?
No, man. My Gene Hackman is Royal Tenenbaum.
Okay.
I will always think of him as Royal because he's just he like, oh, I didn't know Gene had this speed. When you first see that movie, it blew me away. It just blew me away how good he is in that. Yeah,
there's some moments where it's just like there's some things where he does every now and then where you're just like, I can't believe Gene Hackman took that role. That's interesting. That's very like, you wouldn't suspect.
Right. And he's also one of those actors where you couldn't tell him that you wrote the role for him because he would immediately turn it down. That's another story you hear about Gene Hackman. Oh, you wrote this for me? I won't do it.
Now, supposedly Ramsey was initially at least written for Hackman in mind. That's what the screenplay. That's what the screenplay writer says. At least that's what somebody says that somebody says. I don't know.
The screenplay writer then and the producers are saying two different things.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time, I don't think. And I'm sure it's just conflicting information because here's what people may not know: any dickhead can write some trivia on IMDb. You can. It's not like it's not governed by the mayor of Hollywood. Hey, just go fuck it. Put it up there. Who cares?
I think we found your next job, Adam Fortress.
Mayor of Hollywood.
Mayor of Hollywood.
Hey, listen, I could clean up that town real toot sweet.
Yeah, you could. So you want to know what? Because here's the first choices to play Captain Frank Ramsey. Warren Beatty was literally the number one choice.
Well, you also got like so when you think about it, starring in Bonnie and Clyde and stuff together, same generation of guys, so it makes sense. I wouldn't do it because Warren, not for nothing, Warren, but you're kind of a softie.
Yeah, no way. There's no grit. I have no problem thinking that Gene Hackman is the captain of a submarine. I would have a very difficult time with Warren Beatty being the captain of a submarine.
Captain Handsome. I mean,
yes,
Ramsey.
Exactly. Second choice was Al Pacino.
Hey, listen, for a submarine, Al Pacino's the right height. If you're a tall person and you've been on a submarine, it ain't built for you, baby.
And this is around the era too where he's starting to go full Pacino, but it's not like a parody of full Pacino like he was doing by the end of his run.
I want to say we really get into like him chewing on it in Any Given Sunday.
I would say to you after the movie where he plays the blind guy.
Oh, Sin of a Woman. Oh, yeah.
Sin of a Woman is really anything after that. You're just getting like,
oh, we're turning it up to 11.
Right. And everything is just full Pacino all the time. Like it's like a parody of itself.
I woke up this morning and I realized I just got to start doing me in front of everybody. Otherwise, they won't know who I am.
But before that, and I think that this would probably fall in that area where he could probably still pull off something great.
He would do something wild and crazy because he was, like, wasn't he on Dick Tracy for like a hot second? Like he was doing some weird stuff.
Man, he's the main villain.
Yeah. So
Dick
like
Tracy.
He would like he's doing whatever he wants to at this time too, which is kind of fun. You're just like, oh yeah, I'll help you that guy. Man,
that movie is so weird. That is the weirdest movie in the world.
I love that it exists.
Me too. Me too.
It is what a gem. What a gem that weird little movie is.
It is. Look, man, I'm saying weird as a compliment.
Like,
There is only one of that movie. You'll never see anything like that ever again.
And thank God.
Also, another thing, weird little casting thing here is when Al Pacino was in talks, Brad Pitt wanted the Denzel Washington role.
All I could think of for a second was just Al Pacino complaining and just go, "Hey, listen, boys, I'm afraid of water. I don't want to do any of this." And they're like, "Listen, it's all going to be on us. I'm telling you, man, I am afraid of water. I don't want to do it." And he just
never got back to. That's literally what happened with Warren Beatty and Al Pacino. Is they were in talks, but they didn't say yes in enough time. And Gene Hackman was their third call, and he said yes.
Well, winner for us.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Look, I love this movie with Hackman. Like I would not love this movie nearly as much if it were Al Pacino, and definitely not if it's Warren Beatty. Definitely not. Not that I think that Warren Beatty's a bad actor. I think he's a pretty damn good actor. In fact, I just think that he's totally wrong for that role.
Yeah, this is not what you have him in. It makes no sense for that. You heard the Brad Pitt thing. Also, I read like Andy Garcia and Tom Cruise. Of course, anybody that was of this kind of age, I guess, was probably really bantered about.
But I mean, Tom Cruise. Oh well, yeah, I guess that does make sense because Tom Cruise would be the main character. So yeah, that would
main character sense. Tony Scott relations. It makes sense that they jump to that.
Totally does.
Which ultimately, though, real fast. I mean, you might get a sense of it, but like, and you can read into it, of course. But for the most part, we really don't race doesn't necessarily play a role in this.
I mean, the horse thing.
The horse thing a little bit, obviously. But like outside, save for that little bit right there, there's not a lot. It's not a lot of just like, I don't trust this because he's a black man. It's mostly because he was just young and doesn't believe that he's got the experience and stuff like that, and he believes that he knows better.
Well, the way I would say to you that the way that this movie is written, you can imply that if you'd like to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you can also imply that it is a race thing if you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can.
You can do it either way. It just puts it over the top with those horses thing. And that's which brings me to my second crackpot theory, because I have two on this movie. One is that the Denzel Washington Tarantino story.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is that the Libenzner horses that they talk about,
Yeah, horses from Lisbon.
They are not from Spain. They are also not from Portugal. They are from Slovenia, those horses. But I think that the writers did that on purpose. That way both characters were wrong.
Yeah, I think so too. But at the same time too, okay. Ezekiel 25:17 is not a direct quote in Pulp Fiction, everyone.
Oh, really?
No, that's not directly out of the Bible. It's a little loosey-goosey.
Oh.
So I feel like this might be maybe a little bit more of that case too. Maybe a little loosey-goosey. And here's the thing, what I also kind of feel like I maybe implicitly know, maybe I know tangentially from things that he's said in the past. I believe Tarantino picks up on a lot of conversations that he's heard in his entire life and then kind of basically commits them to memory and then kind of maybe repackages them a little bit and stuff like that. Or maybe just takes them straight ass verbatim and puts them in characters' mouths and whatnot. But I feel like this is a story or something he heard at some point, a la your kind of the Moors invading Spain or France, the True Romance, that whole big speech and everything, also written by Quentin Tarantino. So like I feel like it's very much kind of that vein, I would say, because I think if I'm not mistaken, Quentin Tarantino says that he heard that story from like one of his mom's friends or something like growing up. So like that's what he threw in there. He's just like I heard this, so I'm gonna throw it in the flick. I feel like this horse story is very akin to that. I could be wrong. That's just a guess.
Adam knows that it's the island off of the coast of Italy, but we're both blanking on what the name of that island is right now.
Ranch Cucamonga.
Rancho Cucamonga.
It's just fun to say, isn't it?
It is. So I'm sure you know this already. It's based on actual events because of the mutiny, attempted mutiny on board the Russian submarine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you knew that already. I'm sure you already knew.
It's a lot of fun. Just this kind of it's much like a boat. We're swaying back and forth where the power goes from one to another, back to another, and stuff like that. Because you get to a point. And like, if you haven't watched this in a while, you think like, oh, well, we wait till like well over half the movie before we start court-martialing Gene Hackman here. No, it's pretty quick.
Pretty
quick comparatively. And then he's out, and then the power switches kind of hands again. And it kind of has that flow, that tide rolling in and out and stuff. And like, that's what really kind of makes this movie cook in its 2 hours. That doesn't quite feel like 2 hours, especially when you're sitting inside of a sub for 95% of it.
It flips 3 times. The power dynamic flips 3 times in the movie. It's pretty great. Also based on a 1993 4-part documentary series by the Disney Channel entitled Submarines: Sharks of Steel. Which
Submarines: We hardly knew ye.
Which clearly means that Simpson and Bruckheimer saw 10 seconds of this documentary and went, you know what? Let's try to make Hunt for Red October as close as we can, but with way more action. That's literally what they did.
Yeah, and well, again, just give like 2 great titans these acting chops where they have 2 fantastic. Well, they have several fantastic scenes, but 2 like key scenes together there and everything where they're going at each other. And I always wonder, because I didn't really see any information on what their relationship was like during the movie.
Right.
Because they're 2 kind of guys who are very A-personality kind of dudes. And I could see they could get along swimmingly or they could lock heads. I couldn't tell you which. And I'm not seeing anything, negative. So my guess is that it was probably okay.
I would think that things run fairly smooth on a Simpson Bruckheimer movie just because of all the money involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, movie sets are always going to be a pain in your ass. It's just the way that making movies is. But when you have that much money, it's hard not to be like, oh, this is very nice.
It's probably catered well.
Well, yes, of course. And it's Disney money that they're getting thrown. I mean, they're okay. Like my guess is that it's hard to get mad when your trailer is this big.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you can just go like, oh, okay, listen, our Oscar winner here will get a very nice trailer, and that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine.
Yeah, and speaking of Denzel, man,
our 2 Oscar winners, by the way, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, Gene also has an Oscar by this point. Nobody looks better in the dress whites than Denzel.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, man. Why aren't you in every naval movie ever? Because he looks so damn handsome in those dress whites.
Get him in a uniform, man. The guy cuts a striking figure.
And then he's standing next to Gene Hackman, which is doing him a ton of favors because Gene Hackman, it looks like he's wearing nurse shoes and shit. Like it looks
like, listen, pal, I'm 90 years old. I'm still going to live another 40 years. Who can fucking believe it? But here we are.
Right. But man, he just looks so great. I was like, hot damn, he looks good in those dress whites. Good job by you, Denzel. Also, another thing is I've stolen that line that Gene Hackman has in this movie, the horses are dumb, like high school girl line,
Yeah.
I had stolen that line from this movie so much and so often that I had forgotten that I did not come up with that line myself. I literally took it from this movie. So when I was watching it this morning,
these sons of bitches stole my line. Oh, wait a minute.
There was a moment of that where I was like, come on, like it was like
right.
that.
Right.
I am the one who stole it. Another thing that I hate about Simpsons Bruckheimer movies, and especially movies of this era, is the look how much fun we're having listening to Motown. I
listen,
hate
it's
that.
not just exclusive to him. You can look back at like Oliver Stone and like,
dude,
you know, it's,
like I says, it's in every Simpson Bruckheimer movie. However, it was very popular during the time, this era, to have that scene.
which was the style at the time.
It
Like,
was the style at the
we
time.
really could do like a lot of these 90 Bruckheimer movies and just do like a, yes, this seems a little odd, but it was the style at the time.
Right. Also, I don't know if you know this story or not, but Tony Scott, after the Navy like booted him from the Navy stuff, Tony Scott he can't get permission to shoot the class of sub that the Alabama is supposed to be. So Tony, who is friends with a lot of guys in the Navy, has a guy who calls him up and tips him off and says, "Hey, one of those subs is coming into Pearl Harbor." And so Tony gets a camera crew together and they steal shots of the sub coming in and going out. And brilliant. So every real submarine moment you see in this movie is completely illegal stolen shots of a submarine, which I find amazing that even Tony Scott, even when he has all the money in the world to make a movie, he's still got to do some theft from time to time just to get the movie that he wants.
Quick.
Oh, and not only that, but the sub that came in was the actual USS Alabama, which I just found crazy.
That's pretty awesome.
It is awesome.
The actual thing.
Yeah.
Now, I wrote a little list here, and because I this was the first time, like I'd seen it previously when I knew Tarantino had done punch-ups and stuff like that, but this is the first time where I really watched, and I kind of was like, let me see if I can find where the Tarantino stuff is. Now, there's a couple of obvious ones. So some of these are going to be obvious, but some
the
of them
Silver Surfer, the Silver Surfer one's obvious. The horses thing is obvious.
The horse is the obvious one. The obvious one right up front is the Robert Mitchum and sub movie talks in the bus. Like,
of course,
that's clearly them. You don't put on a condom. Like, that doesn't make sense anywhere else in the movie, but like that's a Tarantino line, I can almost guarantee.
I think you're right.
You ever watch Star Trek? All the Star Trek stuff. Come on.
Of course.
Who are these naval men talking about Star Trek in this particular way? It's hilarious.
Of course, that's Tarantino.
One thing that I think that I could be wrong. This is a guess. But the sunset cigar moment, I believe, was Tarantino.
Oh, that's good.
That's
good.
And the reason I think it is
because of Hackman's line at the end.
Line, where it's just like a dummy, would have talked like, would have tried to ruin this moment or whatever. That to me, I was like, that's a Tarantino bit right there, especially compared to the other stuff.
You totally say that.
But I forget. I had remembered what parts like Robert Town wrote like the whole meaning of war speech and everything. Like on a napkin or something. He did it like 5 seconds, and they were just like, "Hey, we got to have this." And you're, one of the great screenwriters out there. Just cobble up some stuff. He did basically, what Milius did in Jaws.
Right.
Give me this little bit right here, will you?
Right, and that also smacks of the the greatest threat isn't the Russians. The greatest threat is war itself.
Yeah, I mean,
that's such a Towns line,
and it really kind of cements this movie and everything. And it couldn't end any other way. This movie, because like you can't open the hatch and it's nuclear war. Gene Hackman's like, "You dumb motherfuckers, I was right."
Although I do take umbrage with all of the guys on the sub are super happy they don't have to launch the nukes.
That's true. They would have been bummed. Some of them would have been bummed.
It would be 50-50. Yeah. Like I could totally see half of the crew being like, "Whoo, thank God." And the other half's like, "Damn it.
I really want to blow something up, bro."
Yes, of course.
Now, do you know? I don't know. I can't 1,000% say it was for this movie, but I would almost say it was based upon what I saw and what I've kind of previously seen in the past with our with a fantastic show called Movie Magic. Do you know how they shot some of this? Some of the sub stuff is real, like underwater and whatnot, but most of the other stuff, do you know how they kind of shot this stuff back in the day? It's very cool.
I don't have any idea.
So they would get a big giant model of the sub and everything, just like you do like your Star Wars, Star Trek or something like that. But obviously you put it in water and it doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot because
Right.
you can't really quite see it. So what they end up doing is put it in like a big giant kind of black box room and everything, fill that up with smoke and whatnot, and then basically kind of troll it along there and whatnot.
Oh, that's cool.
They light it up in whatever, and it's just basically, just fog and stuff in a room.
Oh, that's cool.
But that's definitely what they did a lot in the 90s and stuff like that. And it's very cool. And that's what I love. I love little bits like that. The fact that they, are on like a real asset that they built here and everything. It's shot so amazingly well for something that is so tight. It is moving the camera a whole bunch. There's a lot of like crazy whip pans and everything, but you're never lost. It's like it's that great thing that Tony Scott was always just really capable of, is just keeping you dead set with what was kind of going on.
You know where everyone is, and you know where everyone is in relation to everything else.
Yeah, like while we don't get like formal tours of the ship or anything like that, you kind of know, like they've laid it out basically enough to where you can kind of figure where everyone is at. And it also leaves it open for them to kind of cheat a little bit if they need to as well. Great. Just great. Quick, just a couple of the, supporting performances and everything. Viggo Mortensen, great.
Great.
As always, just kind of that nice understated. This is that perfect kind of role for him too at this point in his career, because he's like, he's a tough enough guy, but he's not like overly tough. So like there's always a little bit of sensitivity to Viggo, which is great because that plays well with this. But you can definitely buy him being a soldier and whatnot. And he's got the great fucking jawline, so good.
Yep.
Same goes with Gandolfini. Just has that great I see him in this role. This is a dude who is on a sub. I get it. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't believe how fully formed he is in this movie.
Yeah.
Because when you see him in something like Get Shorty, he's great in that too. It's just not the Gandolfini that you're going to know later. Whereas this Gandolfini is the same guy from The Sopranos.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like this is, I don't know if they've done one before, but this is his second movie with Tony Scott. So like they're buddies at this point. He was in True Romance as the villain in that. Yeah. So they've got a great relationship. So that's why I also feel like he's just like, he feels like he's very, very comfortable with this. Steve Zahn, great Steve Zahn performance. Maybe nothing wild and crazy, but Ricky Schroeder though.
Yeah,
Ricky Schroeder be delivering. I feel like his career needed this at this point in time and everything, because he kind of kills it.
He does. He's good in it, man. Everybody in this movie is good. There is not a single performance where I'm like, come on.
Yeah, the guy who played Cobb was amazing. Just like that kind of like, he's that perfect kind of middle age there, right in between Denzel and Gene Hackman and everything. And he's a big guy. Looks like he'd be, a dude who's been in the Navy forever and a day.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so where's my stupid notes at? My fingers are incorrect today. So, do you have any? Well, we kind of went over more or less the other options and stuff that were going for if we had to recast this movie. Do you have anybody else outside of the kind of ones that we talked about?
No, I mean, I think that what I was naming off of what was actually reported as this is who we were going for first.
Oh, two names that I also saw in that, though, were also John Voight and Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper, I think, would be pretty good. Voight would be different, but I think he could probably pull it off.
I think Voight could totally pull off the Menace. And I think that Hopper could pull off the Menace, too, but it would be a very different sort of Menace.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be as good, I don't think. But I think if Gene Hackman doesn't exist, those guys could hop in those.
Totally. I could totally see that. Ryan Phillippe's first movie, by the way.
Yeah, he's a youngin' boy. He looks like he's a little baby.
He does. He really looks like he's probably about 14.
Yeah, and the probably bad part is he was probably like 19.
Right.
And it's just like, but you look 12, dude. Oh my goodness.
Right.
But he's so good, and like, just got like that great ticking clock of just like, hey, you got to get this thing going and whatnot. And like the whole movie, like the last part of the movie is like damn near in real time.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
the second half for sure.
Man. I would probably, if I were to do one, I'm just going to steal from the movie itself and say Robert Mitchum. Now, he would have been a little older, and maybe you could kind of go into the like he was like crazy, like maybe he's insane, maybe he's really losing it. Because you don't look at Gene Hackman and go like he's old and losing his mind. You look at him like he's stubborn in you know, in his ways and stuff like that, and he wants.
But
he's war hungry.
That's Robert Mitchum too, man. Robert Mitchum also, like, you know, you wouldn't think of him as crazy at this point. I don't think. I think he's still got his shit together enough to be able to pull that off. He'd just be older.
Exactly. He'd just be old enough to do it. But you would look at him and just go like, well, is he crazy? Is he thinking like, you know, you'd have one little element because he is just a bit older than Hackman is at this point. So that would like, especially on a guy that would be more towards that cusp of retirement and everything, to just go like, is he trying to go out with a bang? What's going on? You know, like that could be a cool little element.
Did you recognize the bridge on this movie?
Not particularly.
I didn't know. I didn't either, because it's another movie that I hate, which is it's the same bridge that they used on Independence Day. So like the submarine bridge in Independence Day is the same, which would tell me that, like, I don't know who used it first. I don't know if it's something that already existed. I have no idea. But it is something that has been used previously in other movies.
Listen, you just go down to the warehouse and you're like, what do we got here? That's what we got. We're using that.
Oh, sure. That's definitely what happens a lot of the time.
It's like, this is my favorite, though, of that situation where I ever saw something like that happen was an episode of Seinfeld, like a later episode of Seinfeld. They were when Elaine is dating the homeless guy who's like squatting in that house and everything in the apartment. Well, the apartment that they're in was from The Single Guy, the canceled
get
NBC
out of here,
show.
really?
Yeah. I remembered it very specifically because I was just like, hey, that's The Single Guy's apartment. That's hilarious that they were just like, hey, this show's over. Jack this setup. We're gonna use it in a Seinfeld episode. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. How do you think that he is like really bummed that people don't pine nostalgically for The Single Guy?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like
Jonathan Silverman.
That's correct. Very good.
I got two more notes for Crimson Dawn or Crimson Tide here. One is
Crimson Dawn also be a badass name for the movie if you want.
It would. This movie, Crimson Tide, came out the same day on a weird day too. It premiered on a weird day. Can you? I take a guess what movie came out the same day as Crimson Tide did. You will never, ever guess.
The Land Before Time.
No, sir.
That's earlier than that.
It is The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill But Came Down a Mountain.
Oh, well, yeah, that definitely would not have.
No one would guess that movie.
And it opened number one?
Yes, Crimson Tide did open number one over The Englishman Went Up a Hill but came down a mountain.
That's a lesson for the marketing department, I'll tell you that.
Weird moment here is where I say to you, my buddy worked at a movie theater at the time, and he, after everybody left, he invited us all to see two movies together. Those movies back to back, no joke. Unstrung Heroes and The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill But Came Down a Mountain.
Wow.
If you want to talk about movie nerds. Yes, sir.
I think my honest double feature ever was Step Brothers and the second X-Files movie.
That's pretty great, actually.
That was a very strange double feature. We watched this comedy and then an X-Files sequel. Like the 20 years later, we're doing one more X-Files movie, and we were like, let's watch this too.
But if there's any younger people listening to this podcast,
what are you doing here?
Well, number one, right? No young person wants to hear people talk about Crimson Tide. However, the other thing is this: whenever you hear an old person complain about how movies are not anything like they were when they were younger, Crimson Tide comes out, right? Mm-hmm. The next week, the week after, Die Hard with a Vengeance comes out. Oof. And then the week after that, Braveheart.
Oh my Lord. What an embarrassment of riches.
Right. And so that is what we mean when we say we wish that going to the movies was the same experience it used to be.
You don't get the same experience going to see this Minecraft movie?
I will never watch the Minecraft movie. I even though both my daughters play Minecraft, I just can't get into it.
My guess is even there, like, why? What? But unless your kids aren't into vandalism, are they?
No,
Because
not at all.
the kids out there are vandalizing the theaters. I am so glad I don't work in one right now, man. It's a madhouse out there. People are just being disgusting human beings.
Oh no.
It's par for the course. Well, movies only come in two forms, everybody. They're either art or fart. This is gonna be fun. Sean, is Crimson Tide art or fart for you? My guess is fart, just based upon your previous experience on the show for 10 years. Go ahead.
I think that I mean, I really like this movie. I'm the one who suggested it.
Yeah.
Huge Denzel fan, huge Gene Hackman fan. I think that this movie is farts, but barely. Like, it's almost art.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you took a screenwriting class and you learn like the bullet points of how to write a screenplay, this literally goes note for note with that. With that outline of how to make a movie, which there's nothing wrong with that at all.
But stay an ignorant dum-dum, everybody. It ruins your life. It ruins your life when you can see the strings and you're just like, oh, the formula is playing out well.
But I mean, it is exactly beat for beat what you are supposed to do when writing a screenplay. But you are absolutely right. You will enjoy your life a whole lot more if you don't know how the things you like are made. So just keep that in mind. And it's also fart because it's for old farts, this movie. There is not anyone under the age of 25 who gives a good goddamn about this movie.
And I call them rubes and dum-dums because I think we have a dearth of movies today that lack acting. Really amazing, great performances. Think of this movie. When you talk to most people about this movie, go Crimson Tide, I think a lot of them are going to be like, hell of an action film. This ain't an action film, ladies and gentlemen. No. This is a movie where a bunch of guys sit in a tube and talk for 2 hours for the most part. And we threaten action. You know?
And there's so much sweat.
So much sweat. But honestly,
such a sweaty movie.
But maybe the least smoky Denzel Washington movie of all time. Or not Denzel Washington, but Tony Scott, rather. Tony Scott, because there's not enough atmosphere in there. But I will say, shockingly amount of smoking allowed on a submarine.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could smoke on a submarine. I call BS on that, but
I feel like that takes up a lot of oxygen or something. I don't know.
There is so much smoking in this movie. It's kind of crazy.
But here's the thing, though. It looks so good.
Yeah, do.
It looks good. Smoke. Listen, you can be an anti-smoking advocate all you want. And Roger Ebert was one. He hates smoking, hated it, but he goes, you know what? It looks amazing on film.
It's true.
It looks so good. It is just like there's an elemental thing to it that you just can't get it around here. And like when you see these guys and these like close-ups and that butt just like lighting up there and everything, it looks so damn cool. And we can't smoke in movies anymore. It's rated R right away. I don't fucking. Right. It just that's how the world works now. It's weird.
Yeah.
For me, this is I'm kind of on the barely opposite end of the scale, so to speak, where you meet in the just fart, I meet in the just art kind of way. So I think we're on the same side of the fence. We're just kind of looking just right across from each other here and everything. But I'm going like just slightly art because it is evocative of that kind of 90s Simpson Brockheimer era here and everything. And, not for everybody, but it's a time that I particularly like. I'm like 12 years old when this movie comes out. So how the fuck am I not going to love this?
Yeah, this movie is such a fastball for you. It's got one of your favorite directors. Tarantino is a ghostwriter on it. I mean, like
you got Hackman, you got Denzel. It's just like, oh, what are you doing? You're just setting it all up. Or I'm like, how could I not absolutely love this?
Right, exactly.
I mean, like the Don Simpson cocaine flows through this movie. You can just feel it, and there's something about it.
You really can feel that, though. You're right.
So good, so good. Like I love this dumb era of film and everything. It's a nostalgic thing to be sure. And show me a Dominic West film. I even like that bull crap. the Kmart of all the Brockheimer films. I'll still take that crap. It's dumb, but I love it. That is it, everybody. We got another Gene Hackman film coming in hot for you next week. Our absent Bruce Leslie this week has picked out, oh my goodness, The Quick and the Dead from one Sam Raimi. I am wildly excited for this. You got
Me
Gene
too.
Hackman. You got Sharon Stone. You've got Russell Crowe. You've got Leonardo DiCaprio. You got Sam Raimi directing this thing. It is so good. And by the way, like because I wanted to see him again, and I can only find the one, but there had to have been more out there. Entertainment Tonight episodes that like I specifically remember back in the day seeing the Quick and the Dead stuff on Entertainment Tonight, and I was like,
wow.
Let me see if I can pull up those packages from back in the day. There's one with Sharon Stone in it talking about stuff and everything, and it's so funny just to be like seeing Sharon Stone at this age and everything, but like, and also kind of being like, well, you're all old and stuff, and it's just like, no, not really. She's still a very good-looking lady. She is not past her prime at this point. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? You're out of your gourd. But we'll get into all that kind of good stuff next week. And again, a fantastic performance by Gene Hackman, so I'm super excited for that and stuff as well. You put Gene Hackman in a Western role, you might as well just go ahead and put a little check mark by that and watch it. You want to plug anything else?
No, I'm good, man.
That is it, everybody. Another episode down. Check out our YouTube page here and everything for all of those fun videos. And please check me out on All American Spook Show. They dropped an episode last week where we talk about Blade Runner for a good while there and everything. It's super fun. But we don't sit there. We honestly, when I say we talk about Blade Runner, I know that a lot of people are going to be like, my God, Blade Runner has been talked to death. You'd be surprised about how... We do talk about Blade Runner, don't get me wrong, but you'd be surprised at how little we talk about Blade Runner. We talk about a lot of things that are kind of surrounding the whole everything and stuff. So I promise you it's a lot more fun and entertaining than you just like, Jesus Christ, another Blade Runner person. Well, what do we need to hear that about? It's funny.
I would imagine there's probably a little bit of soldier talk too.
Yeah, we have some fun over there, everybody. So go check out All American Spook Show. I'll put a link of that in the show notes. That'll do it, everybody. Join us next week for another Gene Hackman movie in the Quick and the Dead. For Sweet Sean's Kovacs from the internet, the absent Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Porcher, reminding you to be a dirty baby and leave a comment for your mom.